Greetings and welcome to our show, Fresh Geek Context. This is a podcast where we routinely discuss insightful views on a bi-weekly basis over the incredibly nerdy things that we cannot stop talking about. To take you on this dorky ride are your hosts, Josh.
What's up, people?
And myself, Jay. So why don't you take a seat, sit back, relax. We're here to do all the heavy lifting. It's about to get nerdy. This is episode 4.
Comic-Con.
And Halloween Part 2. And our very first guest interview, a special guest who falls into the category of a cosplayer. We proudly present Bob Keifer, everybody. Round of applause.
Welcome, Bob.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Bob is here on a segment later, but he will be joining us for the first half of this chat because we have a lot of things to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Friend Josh.
Yes.
This was overwhelming.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know you really want to talk about it.
Oh, I really, really do.
But can we at least get a list of the of things that we need to talk about first?
But can I just say it now, please? Can I say it now?
Yeah. Okay, you can say it now.
Are you sure?
Yes, you can say it now.
Power Rangers!
Oh, my lord. There were other things that happened on Comic-Con, though.
Jace, but listen, I've been waiting this entire week to talk about this with you on this podcast so we can, figure things out because, oh my god, did you see that trailer?
I did. But there were other things, though.
Like what?
I mean, there was Walking Dead.
Sure, and yeah, Negan scares me a little bit, but Power Rangers!
I know. Okay, listen, we have to get this out of your system because you have a lot of pent-up aggression.
I might, I might morph right here. I don't know. It could happen.
All right, so for everybody that doesn't know, if you've been living under a rock, I think there might be some people that have been living under a rock. Comic-Con was this past weekend, and they actually premiered the first teaser trailer for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Or is it just called Power Rangers? I don't know.
It's the official title is Saban's Power Rangers, and Saban is the company that's pretty much owned the Power Rangers for pretty much since its inception. There was a little bit of a time there where Disney had it for a little bit, but then Saban got it back.
Right. Now, Bob, being our very first guest, I'm going to ask you a question. I know Josh is ripped and ready to go, but I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Because it's tradition on this show. I need to know, I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite piece of nostalgia that does not stand the test of time?
Oh my gosh. That does not stand the test of time.
Does not stand the test of time.
Oh, wow. There's a movie that... are you guys familiar with the Flash Gordon movie from the 80s?
Of course I am.
Yes, so we are.
See, that, to me... I love that movie.
Right.
That movie was like, I saw that in the theater, and I think I was probably 12 or 13. I was at this perfect age.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I loved it. It had everything a 13-year-old kid could want.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
people getting killed, sexy girls, lasers, Ming the Merciless. It was just awesome.
And that soundtrack.
All the things.
Oh, man, come on. Queen?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
let's go. So it was fantastic. And the funny thing about that is, like, you guys, I'm with like-minded souls here, I feel. So you guys appreciate it. But when I talk about that movie to anybody else, it is just so... And I feel like, to me, it's kind of a crazy thing because I feel like it has stood the test of time.
Of course.
But I think general public-wise, it probably hasn't. But
That's fair.
Oh, my God. Such an amazing movie. Like right now, I'm just having chills thinking about it.
So, you know what the funny thing is that I remember watching that as a kid on Saturday morning. Like, if like a season for a cartoon show like Thundercats or Transformers was over.
Yeah.
They would play that movie. And I remember watching that and I was just like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
But this is awesome.
Yeah, so many visual elements.
Of course,
and
of course.
Insane.
But I feel like anybody that doesn't know anything about Flash Gordon, if you've never seen it before, then that would look strange to you.
Very.
It would probably ruin Flash Gordon for you. Yeah, it would probably ruin Flash Gordon for you. But I mean, God, it's just I'm thinking the all of the Queen songs in it now, just in my head. Like all the music, the Queen music, it's just insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think that movie would have worked as well if Queen didn't appear on that musical score.
No, I feel like they got a lot of. Can I say it?
Yeah, of course you can.
I feel like they probably got a lot of crap for doing that score and doing that theme song. And,
Right.
and you know what? I don't care.
I don't care either.
I mean, it didn't lessen them.
No, definitely not.
At all.
No.
It definitely. Yeah, it was fantastic. So,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That one's a bittersweet one for me. Like I said, I don't feel like it stood the test of time, but to me, it's always going to be like up there.
Of course. And listen, as a fan, as a geek, as a nerd, you're allowed. You're certainly allowed.
Thank you.
And
And your answer is way better than Jace's, by the way. So you already get brownie points.
Sweet.
You're never gonna let me live that down, which that's fine because.
Thundercats is amazing. Okay.
All right, moving along because this is not about Thundercats. This is about Power Rangers. Now, before I let Josh go, I know Josh, just be patient with me.
I'm trying, but it's very hard.
I need to know because we have to be considerate to our guest. Bob, do you know anything about Power Rangers? I have to ask this question because, this is fresh Geek Context. So.
So here's the thing with Power Rangers for me. I know about them. I don't know them like a fan would know them.
Okay.
Because I didn't really watch them very much. And I think it's probably because that show was occurring during formative years of mine where I just wasn't as much of a geek as I should have been.
Fair.
I had like a couple years where I kind of fell out, and those shows kind of happened during that time. I've never caught back up with it. I have friends who are huge Power Ranger cosplayers that do amazing costumes. They're like insane. Like that helmet, I know for a fact, you put it on your head and it barely fits on your head. Like it literally fits to the shape of your head. But I don't really know anything about it. So that being said, I mean, as a third kind of like outsider person coming into that trailer,
Right.
I thought it looked awesome.
Right.
And it's probably because I don't have any nostalgia with it. So, I have friends who are fans who are kind of on both sides.
Okay.
So I'm more interested to hear what you guys think about it.
Well, I'm gonna let Josh
super
kind of go into it right now because he's ready. I've held him back long enough.
I get that feeling. Yeah, I definitely sense that. So yeah, Josh, I'm ready to hear what you think of it.
Yeah, go for it, Josh.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, you said it yourself. You have friends that know the Power Rangers. That you have some people that like it, some people that don't like it. I fall under the category of a Power Rangers fan who did like it because the show in the 90s, let's all face it, it's very corny, very cheesy, but very fun at the same time,
Yeah.
It's just very mindless action. Like they're just standing there and things are exploding behind them. It's like, what? Why did that happen? I don't know. It's cool. And then you got people fighting and everything. So it's just a fun, kid show. This reboot, however, that they're doing, and this trailer pretty much shows this is not going to be that, at least from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually okay with. I would not mind seeing like I wouldn't say gritty, but like, a more grounded version of Power Rangers, kind of in the vein of like, let's say a Marvel movie or something like that. Or a lot of people have actually been comparing this more to Chronicle. I don't know if you guys saw the Chronicle movie.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
So it's more in vein of that, which I enjoyed Chronicle a lot. So if it's anything like that, I'm all in at this point.
So my take on this, because everybody knows that I have a very interesting point of view on these things.
Sure.
I think it looks interesting. Honestly, it does. But growing up, I really wasn't the biggest fan of Power Rangers. Now, I watched it. I remember watching the original movie back in the late 90s.
That movie's glorious as well. Just saying.
I will give you that. I will certainly give you that. I won't knock it. But I had a problem as a kid waking up on Saturday, and I remember it very specifically. I remember walking in on Monday morning, and everyone kept talking about these Power Rangers. I said, what are you guys talking about? This is this new show. It's on... I think it was on Fox.
Yeah, Fox Kids.
Fox Kids, right. And I just remember, like, okay, all the kids are talking about it. I got to watch it.
Yeah.
So I remember watching the second episode, and I remember shaking my head and saying to myself, this is absolute garbage. Like, this is what everybody's into. Because, and I'll explain, let me give some context as per title of the show.
Ew.
The reason why I couldn't stand that show was because I grew up watching Voltron, like in the 80s, and that show, for people who don't know, is a show about 5 space explorers that get stuck on a planet, and they kind of fall into this war that's kind of happening between, these two factions, the good and the bad. Emperor Zarkon is kind of leading the charge for evil. They fall into this mysterious castle. They find these 5 robot lions. They unlock the power of Voltron. These 5 lions kind of take on this super bad beast, robo beast, if you will. And at the end, when all is almost lost, they say the iconic words, "Let's form Voltron." They go up into the sky. They transform. He unleashes the sword. He kicks ass, and the show is over. And I'm like, I don't know any other show better than this. And so when I'm watching the Power Rangers, and I'm like, so it's a live action Voltron, that doesn't work like at all.
For the most part, I mean that they have very, very big similarities. But I mean, should we go over like a little bit of history of the Power Rangers, like just kind of touch upon it a tiny bit?
The floor is yours.
All right. Yeah, so for anybody listening who doesn't know, Power Rangers started as a show here in America after Saban, the company that now owns the Power Rangers, pretty much anything Power Ranger related. They bought it they share it rather with this company in Japan, and Japan had a show called Super Sentai, and they have all these different versions of them, which is why you have like 27 billion different versions of Power Rangers. So what Saban did is they took clips from that show, Super Sentai, and brought it over to America, and then they kind of edited it together with shots that were shot here in America with the American cast, and kind of pretty much put them together. Which is why when you watch the show, when everything's like in the high school and in the city, it's like all brightly colored and all new and whatnot, and then you go to the fights and everything's like all dark and gritty because of the film that's been used over there and how old it is.
So I have to say that's one of the other reasons why I couldn't stand the show, because every single time I watched it I said these are 2 different shows, obviously.
Yeah, it's very blatantly obvious in the early seasons of that show that, oh yeah, no, this was filmed like yesterday, and this was filmed like 30 years ago.
Wait, what?
Very obvious.
Was it really that long? I mean, maybe not 30, but
yeah. But the I believe the show that they took it from, the Super Sentai series, I think it was like maybe like 10ish years old by that point. That version of the show, at least.
Wow.
Because the show's been going on for a long time. I think they're still producing new episodes in Japan as well.
I believe you're right, actually.
Really?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I know that for sure. I just don't know what iteration it is, or are they? Oh, wow. Have they migrated? Have they morphed? Or, for lack of a better term, they keep changing it. But there are. I mean, how many series have they had, Josh? Do you know?
So in the Japanese version, I'm not 100%. However, in the American version, I believe they just did season like 22, 23.
God.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of different versions of this series, pretty much.
Okay, so that's the history. Let's talk about this trailer, because when I saw the trailer, I found it pretty interesting. I want to say I loved it. I'm like, I need to see more, but I thought it was interesting. And the reason why I thought it was interesting is because I know of the show, obviously. I'm familiar with the characters. It does feel weird that the Black Ranger is the Asian guy and the Blue Ranger is like that. That whole reversal on like the color changes is weird to me, because I instinctively want to call Zach, because I know what Zach looks like in my mind in the show.
Sure.
I know what Billy looks like in the show. So like I think that's a new fresh take. I like that. But I don't like the Twilight filter. I have a huge problem with the Twilight filter.
A lot of people are complaining about that, the coloring in some of those shots in the school.
But it's not even
like the desaturated.
The desaturated. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And like the sweeping shots, it looks like I'm watching Twilight. Yeah. Now, I didn't enjoy Twilight. I had to see it because there was somebody I was seeing at the time who wanted to see that movie, and I was obligated to go see it. But
that's always the excuse.
Listen, I just but anyway, that was a terrible memory. But I see this movie and it looks interesting, but I don't. Obviously, we know that trailers are marketing is marketing at its very finest, because the movie that we may end up seeing is not, because the people that make the movie is a completely different team that make up the trailer. Their job to make up the trailer is taking your best shots and kind of getting people to a place where they say, this looks interesting, I want to see more. So needless to say, I like what I see in the trailer. Will this movie end up being what it is? I don't know. But, I mean, there's a lot of things that I like. I like the action. I kind of like the throwbacks, the very awkward jumping where their feet are kind of flailing in the air, kind of like a throwback to the original, show. I do like Rita's take, which I find funny because she's wearing the green, and I don't know if the Green Ranger's in it. I'm not sure.
They haven't announced it, but I mean, I would not be surprised if they tie it to that.
It'd be really cool.
And see, I don't even know what that means with the Green Ranger. So I know that, there is a Green Ranger, but I don't understand the significance.
Okay, so I'll explain it to you.
That probably makes me sound really...
No. This is fine.
You're fine.
We welcome questions because people who are out there are also going to be asking questions.
Yeah.
They're like, what is a Green Ranger? What is that?
Yeah. So Green Ranger, I'm going to explain it, and then Josh is going to re-explain it.
Okay.
The Green Ranger... the Green Ranger is arguably the coolest character in the entire show ever.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The premise of it, and if I'm wrong, Josh, you can correct me, but the Green Ranger was initially introduced as the main villain's pawn to defeat the Power Rangers. They had all of the powers of the Power Rangers, but as the Power Rangers kind of fought with the Green Ranger, who had his own Megazord, otherwise known as Robot, they were able to not only defeat him, but get him to turn to the side of good.
So he was originally like a weapon against them. Or
exactly.
Correct,
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, like I said, he was the only good thing I found about that show. You could see there was a little of, love tension between Tommy and Kimberly, which I know a lot of people kind of talk about over the years.
Yeah.
But then after that, he morphed into and changed into the White Ranger, which was also cool because he had a brand new Megazord. And that's when the show started getting really interesting for me.
Oh, the Green Ranger became the white?
Yes.
Oh,
correct, yeah.
Oh, now it's all making sense. That's why Jason David Frank is like so popular.
Absolutely.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
So Jason David Frank, yes, you just name dropped him. He's the dude that played the Green Ranger.
Yeah,
he played the White Ranger. He was also a Red Ranger later in the show. And then actually during the Disney years, when Disney had the show for a little bit, he came back and he was a Black Ranger as well.
Really?
So this dude has been like Power Rangers, like everything. It's part of his life now at this point, pretty much.
Yeah, well, see, now that all makes sense to me.
Yeah,
See,
absolutely.
Like all these cons I've been to, like you see him
everywhere. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
Okay, so Josh, what is your take on some of the scenes? Because I also want to point out Zac Efron's younger stepbrother.
It looks just like him, right?
He looks just like Zac Efron, personally.
It does look very Zac Efron. No, so the trailer, in all, I do like the shots that they picked. Again, like you said, them jumping over the canyon is kind of like a throwback to when they would just, after they morphed, they would just randomly flip over the camera. Like, why are you guys just flipping? This is weird, but whatever. And so it's a cool callback to that. Going back to the whole Tommy and Kimberly thing, which are, the Green and Pink Rangers. They were together in the show. There's a shot of the Red Ranger and the Pink Ranger kissing, and I'm like, what is that? What is that right there? That does not happen.
I mean, it could have happened in the show. I saw it almost happen.
It could. No, it honestly could have. But then Tommy came in and swept Kimberly, so that's what I hope happens here too. But the shots I do like. I do like the shots of when they're discovering the power coins. In that like crystallized type area. And then a few other shots, like when they go underwater and into a cave, which looks like it may be the command center, where they meet Zordon and Alpha 5 and all that stuff. So this trailer, or teaser rather, did what it meant to do. It meant to tease everybody, and I really want to see more. I do love the part at the end with Rita. She's like, hey, I've killed Rangers before, which that's kind of a big deal. Because if you ever have watched Power Rangers or seen it, they always say destroy, get rid of, went to another dimension. They never say the word kill.
Right.
So the fact that she says, hey, I killed Rangers, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. And then of course, the big thing is the very, very end when they kind of tease them getting into the suits.
I really want to see Zordon, who's which I know that was announced recently. I can't. What is his name again?
Like who is? Yeah, I was going to ask who is.
Bryan Cranston is playing Zordon.
That's right.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston. Yeah, I knew
the man who knocks himself.
Oh wow.
Yes, Breaking Bad. Bryan
Holy
Cranston.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah, this is happening.
I'm now totally on board with this.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I find that interesting, but I mean, if we're really going to nitpick on some of the finer details, the part where they go into the quarry, where they discover the power coins, like, I'm just imagining a whole team of people that are just kind of blowing up this rock, and 5 o'clock rolls around, the work whistle goes off, and everyone leaves. These power coins are very visible to, like, everybody that kind of walks by. They say, look,
Quitting time.
yeah, red coins and gold coins, and we'll see you later, Bob.
We'll get those tomorrow.
So I don't know if that's going to be explained, or is that just going to be like one of those classic Hollywood mistakes that they're just going to overlook. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to judge something before I've seen it. I will always give something a chance.
Definitely, I'm just very excited. I really want to see. I want to see one more trailer, just giving us a hint at a few more things. But I really do not want them to overshow anything.
But that's their job. Their job is to overshow everything.
I know, but the one thing I really hope they don't show, if they tease it again in another trailer, like they kind of show like their Zords a little bit, their giant robots. If they kind of show like a leg of one of them or whatever, I'll be like, okay, good. I don't want to see the whole thing. I want to wait for the movie to see all that stuff.
What was that movie with Idris Elba where they got into these mechs and they were fighting all of these monsters? I forget the name. It's
Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Pacific Rim. I'm imagining that the Zords are going to be a la Pacific Rim.
And if they're like that, I would love it because Pacific Rim is one of my favorite movies.
I did enjoy Pacific Rim, but they're in the middle of nowhere, which might work out for them. Like, why they would just be in the middle of nowhere. Oh, wait, because there's going to be a big boss battle where they fight these... right?
Yeah,
they have to be on the countryside.
Yeah.
Because if they lived in the city, then it's a Godzilla movie where they're destroying everything down to the ground.
More disaster.
Of course, yeah.
More disaster. And I don't think it's going to be a disaster film. I'm hoping that they don't ruin everything by just revealing everything. Like, give you the best shots of the movie. Because then at that point, I'll just wait for it to come on iTunes or Amazon or whatever,
And the marketing team, they have been doing pretty good so far. Like, they had this teaser, which didn't show too much. It showed just enough to get you interested. The photos that they've been releasing for the movie, sure, they showed them in the suits, but they haven't showed the full Megazord. They haven't shown any of the Zords, really. They showed, like, pieces of them.
I like teasing. Tease me a little bit. I don't want all of it. And I noticed also, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong here, but the last big blockbuster that came out, Captain America Civil War, that trailer came out, and I was actually remarkably impressed over the quality of the trailers that had come out. Mm-hmm. Because they wove together a story of what you thought you were going to see, but when you watched it expecting that trailer... None of that happened.
Yeah.
None of that happened, and I was actually really shocked.
Yeah, they did do it. Marvel seems to be adept at that.
Oh, thank God.
They're a machine.
They're a machine, and they know how to... Man, I can't wait for Doc Strange. This is not that podcast. We're going to keep talking.
That'll be soon, don't worry.
That will be very, very soon. But, yes, I'm remembering, again, the original Power Rangers, the movie... and I really enjoyed that movie simply because that was the first time you actually got to see the Power Rangers in the actual suits... Which was good because they didn't do that before. So that's why I enjoyed that movie.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Of course.
Of course.
As fans who know more about that show than me, but this is something I was actually wondering when I watched the trailer. So you get brief glimpses of all of the main characters, and I'm using air quotes here because I don't know them. But do you feel like you got a little glimpse of the kind of the soul of each one of them? Like, I always feel like in a teaser they try to give you a little bit, like, did they have individual, like,
moments.
I don't know, things that kind of revealed that they are kind of who they were in the original series, or no?
A little bit.
Is that probably too much to ask in a teaser trailer?
No, I mean, they did hint at, to me, and this is what I got out of it. You did see the Red Ranger, the Zac Efron lookalike.
Yeah.
You saw that he kind of had like seems like he had problems at school. He seems like he was getting sent to detention, and he's kind of like, you can see that he's...
these are all vibes like I'm getting.
Exactly.
Okay, so...
and you see Billy's character, who's the nerdy one inside of the original show. He seems to be the one that kind of knows how to press the button to detonate the rock. He seems to be the one that kind of seems like he has OCD because he's lining up these matches and everyone's getting kind of picking on him. Kimberly looks like she's the cheerleader, and these girls are kind of picking on her, which is funny because you see those two bullies who are girls.
Yeah.
There was one person by the name of Andre, the black nerd.
I was wondering if you were going to say anything
Of
about
course,
that.
Andre, I watch your show. I'm a big fan. What's up?
So am I, by the way.
So he had mentioned that Bulk and Scully are girls in this one, which I thought was really interesting. I was like, that'd be cool if you did the gender swap.
Hilarious.
That'd be really hilarious. I'm hoping that they're in there in some way, shape, or form, but I don't know yet. I will see. Zach's character is solely there simply for looking into the distance. He doesn't really do anything else other than look into the distance.
Yeah, his character is pretty much the only one that we don't really get like a good sense of. There's like one shot of him, 2 shots of him.
And he has one line, the very last line, he says, it's happening.
Right.
I don't know what's I mean, I can kind of guess. But I thought the morphing part at the end, where they legitimately teased the morphing part, which I never really understood in the original show. They just kind of changed. This, it looks like they're morphing into these creatures, and I thought that was really cool. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely want to see how the suit appears over them. We see it a little bit. It's kind of just like materializing. It looks like. So I'm excited to see that full scene, pretty much.
I'm looking for lots of things, and this is why this show exists. The only thing I will say before we break is that video game. I'm remembering the video game from Sega Genesis.
Oh my god!
That's the only thing I don't appreciate. I mean, because they didn't know. I mean, so I take that back. They didn't know how to do video games back then, but licensing was terrible. Licensing was terrible across the board, except if you were Disney and Virgin and you made the game Aladdin. That game, to this day, is still amazing. The soundtrack is amazing. The gameplay is awesome. Man, they know how to... If they were to republish that game would sell millions of dollars. Millions. I support that. Disney, get on that. Did you know, by the way, that they're remaking the Aladdin movie?
Know that now, too?
Yeah, they're remaking the Aladdin movie.
They're doing Aladdin, they're doing Mulan, and Lion King.
I have to admit, on that quick tangent, Beauty and the Beast stuff that I've seen so far.
Awesome.
That trailer looks pretty great.
I can't wait.
Awesome. So if it's going to be in line with that, I'm on board.
I'm on board too.
I mean, I'm okay with it.
I wanted to say that the only thing I wish, and this may be just me personally, you guys can disagree with me if you wish, I would have loved to have seen The Rock play Gaston.
Oh, yeah.
If that would have been perfect. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I mean, the guy is jacked.
Yeah.
He put on a little wig and he has the ponytail.
He's got great comedic timing. He's a great actor.
He's a great actor. He knows how to sing. He would have been perfect. No. But they got the guy who's the villain in Fast 5. Yeah, they got him. I forget I think his name is Luke
Evans.
Evans?
Yeah.
Is that his name? Luke Evans, right. Luke Evans is playing Gaston.
But I think they have like Josh Gad as LeFou or whatever. So, and I like him. He's good.
He's good.
And
Ian McKellen
he's
is
actually
also
kind of almost as interesting.
Oh, of course, Ewan
As a
McGregor is also in it, as well as Ian McKellen. He's also in it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see how this all goes down. Jon Favreau has been hired to make The Lion King, which is arguably my favorite Disney.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow.
I'm telling you, Jon Favreau and Disney are sleeping together. They have
I watched
this
Jungle
wonderful...
Book and didn't even know that he directed it until
He
the end.
did.
And then I was like, oh, no wonder I like this.
Of course.
I went into that thinking, I'm not going to like this. And the whole way through it, I was like, this is actually kind of good. I
Right.
mean, it's really, like, very processed.
Right.
But it was still, the story was good, and the kid was engaging, and the I mean, come on, Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, absolutely.
and
and Christopher Walken. Don't forget about him.
Come on. Yeah.
Don't forget about
the
him.
voice acting.
I'm just going to throw this out there. John Favreau and Marvel started the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Iron Man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you following me? John Favreau and now Disney are starting the Disney Cinematic Universe with Jungle Book.
Oh, no,
Dude,
you did it.
Whoa. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Our minds are blown. Okay, so I think we're getting a little bit off the reins here. What we're going to do is, I think we need to take a break, because this is too much happening right now. But first, we're going to go into this musical interlude.
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome back to the FGC Podcast. We are your hosts, Jason, Josh, and Bob today.
Hey, guys.
Josh, you good?
Much better.
Okay. Can we do learning time now?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
All right. In this episode of Learning Time, we talk about the origin of Comic-Con. The first popular Comic-Con began in California, also known as the Golden State Comic-Con, in the year 1970. At this time, the landscape of cons were much different from the ones that we know now.
In the first convention, it was only a one-day event, and it was meant to gauge interest and also raise money to do a bigger and better one. The same convention was held again in the same year, and it went to a three-day event. Its sole purpose was to celebrate the arts of what the con creators Shel Dorf, Richard Alf, Ken Kruger, and Mike Towery enjoyed the most: comics, films, and books.
Shel Dorf originally attended a three-day comic convention in Detroit called the Detroit Triple Fanfare in 1964. He and a man named Jerry Bales took it upon themselves to run it annually until 1969, when Dorf moved to California. Bales is known as the father of comic fandom.
I would have loved to have seen the costumes for Star Wars back then.
Actually, Star Wars was created in 1977. At that time, Marvel and DC Comics really started to hit their stride with the popular series that many fans and movie creators reference to this day, like DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths and Marvel's Days of Future Past. San Diego Comic-Con helped fans meet the artists.
At the time, comic newspaper strips like Dick Tracy and The Shadow were what fans had easy access to, just to name a few.
1970 featured Ray Bradbury and Jack Kirby.
71 had featured the first on-screen Superman, Kirk Allen. He was a pretty big deal.
1975 had the first Comic-Con appearance of Stan Lee.
In 1976, George Lucas, with his marketing team, made a monumental decision to organize with San Diego Comic-Con to premiere an exclusive first look at the blockbuster film set to premiere a year later, known only as Star Wars. This move has been used by major motion picture studios ever since.
Adam West appeared in 1980.
Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov from Star Trek in '82. The list goes on and on.
By the time the 90s roll around, San Diego Comic-Con is established as a staple in the comic book community and is a place to celebrate fandom across the world. Feels good to be a comic fan.
It does. I noticed you didn't have anything for New York Comic Con.
That's because it was created in 2006.
Wait, are you joking?
No, I'm dead serious. Because I looked all over and it wasn't an easy thing to find, but New York Comic-Con 2006, first one, Jacob Jeffett Censor, which is totally different from the San Diego Comic-Con.
Why?
Different sponsorship. New York is for-profit, San Diego Comic-Con is non-profit. But now that they have their groove with the timing and the scheduling, San Diego Comic-Con always happens in the summer, and New York Comic-Con always happens in the fall. So naturally, people, like fans, like you and I, and companies...
And Bob.
Will flock towards the San Diego Comic-Con. That's where all the Hollywood magic is made.
That's where they're funded.
Yeah. So, our special guest is Bob Keifer,
Hey, guys.
who falls into the category of a cosplayer. For those who don't know, a cosplayer is someone who actively engages in the practice of dressing up as a character from a movie, book, video game, especially one from Japanese genres like manga and anime. This dude is awesome, guys. And if you haven't seen his work, you will find a lot of his work posted on our website for this specific post. On our website, freshgeekcontext.com, Bob is here on a segment. Might be the only one. We'll see. We don't really know. It's called Confessions of a Cosplayer. It sounds scandalous, but inquiring minds want to know. Bob, tell me what it means to be a cosplayer, because I just want to hear it from your words. What does it mean?
That's an interesting question.
Yes.
And it's a hard one to answer. I will give you what it means to me.
Sure.
To me, it's someone who is not only a fan of a particular character, but maybe a fan of the style of a character, and at the same time has a need for creative outlet. I think it's kind of a culmination of those three things. And sometimes it's not even all three of them. It could be just a couple of those things. I will tell you for a fact that in the cosplay community, there are people who they feel like they have to deride someone because they don't know everything about a character.
Sure.
Like, you don't know everything about Batman?
Right.
I mean, I will tell you honestly, I costume as Batman a lot. I don't know everything about Batman.
Okay.
But there are certain costumes that I think are just kick-ass.
Right.
And I want to do them. Like,
Okay.
I want to do Zur-En-Arr Batman, which is Batman with, like, purple and red and yellow and, like, all
Really?
this crazy stuff. That's where Batmite comes from and all that. But I don't know every single character. And it's just, I like the aesthetic of Batman. I like creating things. I like making things. But I am a Batman fan.
Okay.
And probably more so than your average person, obviously.
I've
I've taken it a little far.
I've seen some of the work that you've done, and I'm impressed every single time. I'm like,
Thanks, man.
damn, guys, when you listen to this, please go to the website, because you're going to see, because I'm hoping you share with everyone who's listening the pictures that you sent me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to.
I mean, what you do is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because
that means a lot to me. I mean, that's one of the things, and I'm going to be honest. One of the things that is fun about doing it is people kind of going ape.
yeah.
And it's an ego trip, and I'm not going to lie. I mean, some of it is it feels really good because you've worked really hard on something. So you've created this thing, and you've spent hours, and it's blood, sweat, and tears, literally. Sure. A lot of crying, a lot of panic,
Sure.
A lot of money.
Okay.
It's
we're going to get into.
Yeah, it's not an inexpensive hobby, but it doesn't have to be expensive, by the way, either. But yeah, and recognition is great. So, but one of the coolest things when you do this is that if you kind of are the embodiment of the character, and I don't mean, like, cosplay traditionally means costuming and playing as the character. And I try to do that to a certain extent. I'm probably not as much as other people do. But when you embody the character and people react to it like you are now, it's satisfying. It means that you've created something that it means as much to other people as it does to you. And you kind of realize, you know what, we're like-minded.
Right.
And we kind of have a lot in common, and we can talk. I have some of the most amazing conversations on a con floor in costume with somebody.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I
Okay.
love it. Yep.
All right. Awesome. So, I do not cosplay. Josh does not cosplay.
Okay.
I wore
but-
Spider-Man pajamas once. I just want to put that out there.
That's totally cool. That counts.
I dressed up as Roadrunner when I was
That counts. That's good. You guys are good.
It was Halloween once. It was a long time ago.
Your fandom is obvious.
But you've been doing this for how many years now?
I've actually not been doing it super long compared to some people.
Okay.
And I'm, just so folks know, I'm 48 years old, so I am not your traditional cosplayer because I'm a little bit older. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think anybody should be able to do it.
I think, and
anybody
I
should
agree.
do it.
Right. I think that a lot of people have been
Yeah.
able to kind of get in on any age.
Yeah, and a lot of the people that I know who are my age have been doing it for 20 years.
Wow.
Maybe even longer. I have been doing it since probably 2009, 2010. So I guess that's a bit of time. I mean, it's
That's the first time you did it.
Yeah. So
You never did it before then.
Well, I created costumes for Halloween and stuff, and I grew up with a mother who was super creative. My mom is like one of the most creative people I know, and she taught me everything I know about sewing and all of the things that I do to create costumes. So
okay.
we always had costumes that she made by hand for us, or most of the time for Halloween and things like that. So it was kind of ingrained in me to be creative and to create things. So, but yeah, so it's just been, it's been like, what, 6-7 years. And it started, my son, who is now 12, he'll actually be 13 in a week, wanted to make a really kick-ass Batman and Robin costume. Awesome. And I was like, yeah, man, let's do that.
Yeah.
And so I started to research it, and I said, well, obviously, like I'm going to jump into this in a way that's going to be probably way too much. And I did. And I got in, and I was over my head, but I committed to it and taught myself how to sew, how to fabricate things, how to actually source other things that I couldn't create. I have guys who make some of the components to my costumes who are amazing artists. I can name names.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sean Reeves is one of the guys who makes a lot of the cowls that I wear, and his work is just absolutely amazing. And he's making cowls to this day, Batman cowls, like the Batman versus Superman cowl, and he's doing the armored suit cowl, and he's doing the Flash, the WB Flash cowl. Nice. He's amazing. So, and I have another buddy named Jordan who does all of the Jordan Chapman, who does all of the 3D printed stuff like belts and things like that. So you source things from people that have skills that maybe you might not have.
Okay.
And then the rest of it, you kind of teach yourself how to do. So anyway, so we created this Batman and Robin costume because I've now digressed and gone off on a totally different tangent.
That's fine.
And our first Batman and Robin costume, we went to Philly Comic Con in Philadelphia, and we killed it.
Nice.
And my son so that was 7 years ago. He's 13 now. He was like 6 or 7 years old. So this little kid in this Damian Wayne Robin costume.
Oh, that's awesome.
Totally yeah, he had the poses down, and I had the new 52 suit, and it was kick-ass.
Okay.
We loved it. People were taking pictures, and he was having a blast. And we've done it to this day. We still continue to do it. I think he's kind of phasing out a little bit, and that's cool. I'm not going to make him do it if he doesn't want to.
Right.
But I call him one of the best props I ever had.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was amazing. But he was totally into it the whole time. So he spurred me on to the whole thing and got me to do it. But the bug bit me, and it's kind of stuck. So yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
honestly.
So Bob, can you tell us, is there a method to the madness? Because if it's not at Party City, I'm kind of rocking jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah. Well, there is. It's a very loose method, but I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in that you just kind of have to find, if you can't do it yourself, like I said, like cowls or hard parts like belts and things like that, you need to find somebody that can do it for you. And believe it or not, in the cosplay or costuming community, there are tons of amazing artists out there who do stuff.
Okay.
And so obviously you might have to buy some things.
Right.
It can range in price from inexpensive to very expensive, depending on who you go to and the quality of the workmanship that goes into it. But obviously, if you can, create it yourself.
Right.
My goal was to make everything that I could myself. So I taught myself how to make capes, and I made, if I do say so myself, pretty darn good capes.
I've seen it, and I can attest to that.
Thank you. And one of the things that I did was kind of innovative was cowls. Traditionally, if you guys have seen the '89 Batman movie with Michael Keaton,
of course,
his cowl was one giant piece that actually sat on top of the cape. So the little scallops on the side of the cowl kind of sat on the top of the cape. Well, I wanted a more comic book look, so I wanted the cowl and the cape to look like they were all one part. So what I did was I actually pulled the cape over the top of the cowl so that it didn't look like it was sitting on top. Basically, the neck hole on the cape had to pull over the top of the cowl so that it kind of looked like a seamless from the neck down to the shoulders and then down, kind of the way like when Todd McFarlane used to draw Batman.
Nice, yeah.
And he had this cape that was like a living entity, almost like Spawn.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and that's what I wanted it to look like, so it was like one seamless piece. And now we do cowls that are one, just like a headpiece and then a balaclava underneath it. That it's kind of complicated, but not really. And the goal is to just make it to look like as much like the comic book as possible. I've done some movie suits, and they're hard.
Okay,
they're hard, man. Those are definitely hard to do.
So I suppose I had two questions. I guess it's going to merge into one, which is, I mean, was there a point where you said, I've dressed up as Batman, I went to like a costume store, and you kind of bought one in a small package, and you just put the whole suit on, and you said, this sucks? And then you said, like, I'm just going to create my own now? Was there that moment that ever happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of an elite bastard.
So wait. What does that mean? What is that? What is like?
I mean, I'm a snob when it comes to like store-bought costumes, and it's not because I think people shouldn't buy store-bought costumes. Look, man, if you want to buy a store-bought costume and you have a blast wearing that costume, man, do it.
Right.
Do it.
Right.
People go to cons and they wear store-bought costumes. I'm like, look at these guys. They're having a blast.
Right.
I don't give a about that. Like, I'm totally cool. But I like to create stuff. So I like to be artistic about it, and I want it to look as authentic and as real as possible. And I have what I call, and a lot of costumers call, the 5-foot rule or the arm length rule, where a lot of costumes, like store-bought costumes, look like you don't want somebody closer than your hand is when you reach your hand out in front of you.
Okay.
Because you'll see flaws in it.
Of course.
And you'll see that it's, not, the workmanship isn't
cheap
good.
and
Maybe, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm being elite. I feel like I'm more artistic when it comes to creating a costume. So I want somebody to be able to stand right next to me and not see like threads pulling off of it or the emblem coming off. Like I want the experience for somebody to be like, man, I'm standing next to Batman,
right.
or whatever character that I'm doing at the time.
Immersive experience.
Yeah, and I want kids to like really feel like it's like in awe of it, because that's the best part.
Yeah.
So and one of the things that I do just kind of on another little separate tangent is I visit hospitals here in Charlotte, and one is the Levine Cancer Clinic, and we'll go and we'll visit the kids there.
Oh, that is absolutely.
Yeah,
see, now
that's amazing.
Yeah, you're completely touching on a completely different element.
Different level. Yeah, and that's probably something for a whole other conversation, because that's both fulfilling and heartbreaking at the same time.
Sure.
But those kids and their parents, it's just the best thing in the world when you go and you visit them and you have that experience. And I want them to be able to stand next to me and be like, oh, that's Batman.
Right.
That's I always want to try and be an approachable Batman.
Of course. You don't want to be too
I don't want to be like, where is she, Batman? I want to be more like, stay in school, man. That kind of
defeat
Batman.
bad guys.
Right, exactly. So
but call the police.
Yeah, there's a fine line, but yeah. So there's a lot of craftsmanship and teaching yourself how to do things involved in the process, for sure. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you're basically Tony Stark when you're making your own outfits. You're the guy that's going into.
Can I tell you when that movie came out, and I think cosplayers saw him and they were like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm making my because you can relate to that.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Bob, you're in a different world than I, because I know you. You and I talk about movies and comics and geek stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And Josh and my interaction with the world of nerddom, I really hate that word.
It's still a word, though, so you can say
it's still a word, I'm going to say it. The world of nerddom is much different from yours, because I'll go to a movie with Josh, and we'll go watch and we'll discuss and we talk about these things over and over and over again. We'll talk about, with complete strangers. But when you walk into a convention, that interaction that Josh and I would have with just people that like the same stuff that I like is completely different from yours. What does the world look like when you don the Batman mask? Do you feel like that you're him, like you are Bruce Wayne?
I can relate to it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I don't feel like I am, because I feel like that's treading on dangerous ground with mental health issues,
Oh,
possibly.
yeah, Bruce Wayne's
And
insane.
can I tell you? Yeah, you know, and it's crazy because well, here's the thing, and what I mean by that is I try not to take it too seriously.
Okay. Well, what does that mean? Like when you say you can't take it too seriously?
Like I don't really want to become the character too much because I think I'm crossing a line at that point where it might freak people out. I want to be approachable. I actually want people to know that I'm a fan and that I don't take it too seriously. So one of my favorite Batman costumes is the traditional blue and gray costume that Neil Adams drew for however many years. And I think it's the costume that's most approachable by people. People know it, and I think I've done a pretty good job with mine. The thing I like about it is that I can smile when I'm wearing it.
Okay.
Like because that Batman occasionally would be drawn smiling.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
And people, and he was approachable. And I think it was from a simpler time, maybe in comics or maybe in all of our lives or whatever, where that character was a little more approachable. He had issues, sure, but they weren't as kind of raw as they're portrayed today. So, and I've really not had as much interest in doing current or more modern versions of Batman, maybe for that reason. But yeah, it's a kind of crazy experience. I mean, because people do approach you and talk to you like you're Batman,
Right.
you know, and like you are literally Batman. And I'm not talking like you're just a guy at a con in a Batman costume, but there are people who will sometimes legitimately approach you like you're Batman,
Right.
And you know, and they want to know questions, or they want to quiz you, or they want to just get a picture with you, whatever the case might be.
Of course.
So there have been some interesting interactions.
I bet.
To say the least. You know, a lot of ass grabbing.
Oh, man.
All right.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
I mean, I'll take it straight to it.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so
Where do I sign up for this ass grabbing?
Yeah, there is a lot of, as a costumer, and I use the word costumer and cosplayer interchangeably, by the way, in case folks didn't know. That there is a lot of inappropriate grabbing.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'm okay with it because I can defend myself, and I'm cool, and I will shut somebody down if they do it. And there are people that are not okay with it, and I don't want to lessen that it happens.
Sure.
But I get a kick out of it because I think it's funny, and not because you should probably get a kick out of being inappropriately touched. But
like,
I think it's crazy to me that people will inappropriately touch me.
Okay.
So, like, in my regular life,
Right.
nobody inappropriately touches me.
But when you wear the Batman
when
costume.
I wear Batman, I get the occasional inappropriate, ass pat, or just questions that normally you wouldn't ask somebody.
But here's the thing. I mean, here's the question that I would ask. I suppose it would depend entirely on who's it coming from. Because if it's like Poison Ivy, I would be like, hey, okay.
Well, okay.
But if it were like Bane, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like
so right. So and that's so now you've kind of touched on another thing too. So other cosplayers will be in character and want to do a lot of the things that character might do to Batman. And you use Bane as an example. And I can tell you I've had my back broken 1,000,000 times by Bane's. So, I mean, and it's cool because I actually kind of like to recreate that pose especially if it's a little kid dressed as Bane. It's awesome.
Okay.
So, but, yeah, so you have to kind of feel that. And a lot of times, it's awesome and super fun.
Right.
Every now and then you need a break.
Right.
And
Right.
You're maybe walking to the bathroom
Right.
or you're going to get a soda.
Right.
And here comes another Harley Quinn.
Right.
Of which there are legion. Okay, so and you have to kind of I want to play along with it because obviously if you're out in the general populace, I don't want to look like a jerk. But Batman affords you the opportunity to be a jerk sometimes, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's you got to be on.
Okay.
You got to be on when you walk in, and if you're going to cosplay, you need to be on your game, and you need to be on point, and you need to be aware of what's going on around you, and that's difficult to do when you've got a rubber cowl on your head and a cape on that weighs about 10 pounds and all that other equipment and stuff like that. And but it's fun, man.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
Yeah,
it really is. Like I've been out of it for about a year, and I want to go back.
I want you to go back.
Yeah, I'm itching to go back. So
Okay.
yeah, definitely.
So I mean, Bob, like you're mentioning this, seeing all these Harlequins, all these Banes, all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you have like a plan of attack when you see someone as like, let's say, the Joker or Superman or anybody from like Marvel, Dragon Ball Z, anything?
So, so here's what's crazy. So as Batman, I don't. Batman, they kind of come to me. And when you're a good guy, that's kind of how it is.
Sure.
And I've not done a lot of bad guy characters, but about 2 years ago, I shaved my head bald. I have a big beard now, and I have hair on top of my head. But I shaved my head bald and did a Lex Luthor from the Justice League, from like the 80s, 70s, 80s Justice League show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
With a big purple collar,
Of course.
and the crossbands and the green pants and the boots and stuff.
So basically a pimp cane. Like you were the pimp outfit.
Yes, it was so. Yeah, man, I was totally pimping, and so I would harass the out of Superman cosplayers,
Right.
and it was so fun.
Right.
But I would do it, like if I saw they were backing off and they didn't want me to do it, I wouldn't do it. But it was some of the funnest times I've had.
That's pretty awesome.
It made me, like I want to do more of that kind of thing. But yeah, you just gotta have fun with it. There's some people that don't do anything and they just want to walk around in costume, and that's cool too.
That's cool.
Those people usually have like really kick-ass costumes too. Like
Right.
you're like they're so good they don't even have to act like you're like.
Right.
Damn. That's
Okay.
kick-ass. So, yeah, it's a fun hobby. It's a really fun hobby. And it's been around for a lot longer than most people think. But it's gained this amazing traction now. And
Right.
you go to cons now and like half the people there are in costume.
Right.
I love it.
I love it too.
Yeah, I think it's amazing.
Could you tell me, has there ever been, and you don't have to answer this, of course,
Oh, boy.
has there ever been a situation in recent memory where something has gone south? Like you went there, you had come in with the best intentions, and you went there and like
They're a problem.
women are crying, children are throwing up.
Oh my
Like,
God, what?
There's always something. If it's costume failure, like you forgot something when you got to the con, or
I didn't even think about that.
or a kids get scared. Some kids get scared. Some kids love Batman, but when they see Batman in real life or any superhero, whoever it is, they're not super excited about it.
Right.
They're scared.
Right.
And you got to kind of just back off. So, and then there are the people that are kind of jerks, and they're like, this is stupid. Why are you doing? And they kind of come at you that way, or there's body shaming.
What?
Wow,
yeah.
really?
Now, could you talk to a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm in okay shape. I could be in better shape. I have buddies that do this who are ripped up and look amazing.
Yeah.
I have buddies who are ripped up and literally look way more like Batman than I do, or Superman, or whoever. But then there are other people who might not, but they love the character, and then people can be a-holes.
Right,
And
of course.
they look, I told somebody, I'll never forget, there was a picture of me, and I kind of always have to know if a picture's being taken of me, I kind of suck it in a little bit so that I don't have a gut sticking out there. But I wasn't in this one picture, and somebody was like, Batman sure looks like he's pounding on the pork.
oh
And
man.
yeah, and it hurt, And I
What'd
was
you
like,
say? Like, what was your response then?
my response, it was a Facebook comment. I'm like, you don't even know. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't even know the guy.
Right.
And I kind of went off on him, and he was like, sorry. He was very apologetic because I kind of think he didn't think I'd say anything. And I was like, well, dude, you just said I look like I was.
Which is strange. I mean, especially for the internet, because I think we all exist in a world where we understand the good and bad the internet has to hold for many people.
Yeah.
Where people will kind of have these internet muscles, and they will say these things, not thinking that somebody's going to respond to them.
I've never really had anybody say anything to me, at least in a public place, face to face. But I have heard stories that people do, and it irritates me. It really, really irritates me. I have friends of all shapes, sizes, and colors, and they're all amazing. And they're all amazing people, and they're amazing fans. And it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't.
At all. And I think it's just kind of mean-spirited. So I would like to see less of that. But again, I let me preface this by saying that's not a huge thing. Like, it's not epidemic.
Right.
You know, it happens.
Of course.
And it's hurtful, and it makes people feel like crap. But it's not something that's happening, like, in a huge way. But it is something that people who are doing it, guys, stop it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So,
have you ever worried about your privacy? Have you ever had to worry about your safety? Because I think that's something that I would worry about the most.
That's a great question, and one that I will be honest with you, as a guy who's 48, no.
Okay.
And it's kind of crazy because maybe I've been lucky.
Okay.
But I am on most social media as Bob Keifer.
Okay.
I'm on this show as Bob Keifer.
Right.
I don't go under any pseudonyms, but there are a lot of cosplayers and costumers who do. And women, I can understand it because, you know, there can be situations where it's probably horribly uncomfortable, and I'm probably sugarcoating it, to say the least, by even saying that. But no, I never have. I've always put pictures of myself out there and my name out there, and hell, I've put pictures of myself and my son out there.
Okay.
We're a meme.
Yeah.
For God's sakes.
Oh, you are?
Know? Yeah, there's a meme. There's a picture of us as Batman and Robin that's... maybe I'll send that to you so you can...
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I would love to have it on the show, on the website.
I think it says, "Face it, ladies, he's been thinking about that since the day you first met."
Oh, that's really awesome. I need to see it.
It's crazy. And so, and my son and I get a huge kick out of that.
Okay.
We think it's funny. So, and like I said, maybe I've been lucky. I could probably be a little less out there as myself, but I think I don't disclose things like, you know, where I live and my address and my phone number and stuff like that. So,
well, no one needs to know that.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think if you just kind of play it cool, you're okay. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say, so your son, he's been doing this with you for a while. I think that's a great...
He's been doing it with me from the start.
I would say, would you... I'm trying to figure out the best question to say this. At a scale from 1 to 10, how nerdy is he?
If I'm a 10, he's not nearly as nerdy as me. He's actually into way more kind of less nerdy, cool stuff. Cool. I call it cool. Like, being nerdy is not cool. Like, he's a 7, I think. He's in right now, because right now he was nerdy. Like, he gets obsessed. So, like I do. So he was obsessed with Joker's origin for a while, and there is no real strong, solid Joker origin that satisfied him, because there really isn't one. You don't really know who Joker was before. There's always, various storylines that go into who Joker was before he was Joker, and the movies, whatever. But he has a very intuitive mind, so he doesn't know. So yeah, but I think he's probably right now he's a 7, and I think he's taking that little, because it's cool to be not into that stuff. But he's coming back up into it, because I went into his room the other day, and there are they're on his dresser. Must have been 30 yellow Post-it notes, each with very intricately drawn dragon head pictures.
Wow.
So he's coming back around to something.
They will always come back to the nerd.
Yeah, absolutely. So but he's a cool kid, so I'm cool with whatever he wants to do.
I definitely want to see that meme.
Yeah,
you got to see that.
Yeah.
If it's okay, I like to put that on the website.
No, totally. Yeah, you might as well. It's been everywhere. So
fair enough.
Crazy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So when you're not let's say going out with your son doing this and stuff like that, do you have a group of people that you go with, or is it just you solo?
You mean when I do go to
when you go to
cons and stuff
and all that? Yeah.
You know what? It's crazy. I do have a group of close friends that in the costuming community that I do meet up with and I do stuff with, and we hang out a good bit. But about 50% of the time, I go by myself.
Really?
Yeah, it's because I just like it. You know what? It's a thing that I do by myself.
Yeah.
I meet people and I hang out with people. I'm doing it by myself, and there's a million people around me. If that makes any sense,
that makes sense.
It's
makes
kind of
perfect
weird.
sense.
Yeah, and I just really like it. There's almost a Zen feeling walking through a con, dressed in a Batman costume,
of course,
by yourself. New York Comic Con. The first one I went to was 2010, 2011. Anyway, the day that I walked around, my voice had gone hoarse, and I was talking like this the entire time that I was there.
How
and I sounded
perfect.
like Kevin Conroy.
Okay.
So
That's awesome.
everybody thought it was Kevin Conroy dressed up like Batman. It was the funniest thing ever.
That's
funniest
awesome.
thing ever. So I
Okay.
didn't let anybody think maybe it wasn't, because
Okay.
I mean,
Of course.
we're probably about the same. Well, he's a little older than me, but yeah, it was crazy.
But you never had like a Spider-Man moment where like Green Goblin just got really upset and said, "You know what? Forget this. I'm following Spider-Man home to where he lives."
No,
Okay.
thank God. Thank God. I mean,
good.
I'm sure those people exist, but yeah, I get in and I get out. I'm like Batman. I
Okay.
get in and I get out of there.
Okay.
My next costume that I'm doing is a stormtrooper costume, the traditional TK from the from New Hope, and the thing with Batman is I can put it all on by myself.
Okay.
And I can go into a con by myself. Or I can do my own thing. A TK Stormtrooper, you cannot put on by yourself. So
many
I'm
people
going
do
to
you
have
need?
to have a handler of some sort, at least one other person to help me get it on.
Okay.
You can do it by yourself. The way I'm currently building it is going to need some help. And my wife, who is the yin to my yang with this whole thing,
Yeah.
she's like my muggle wife.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she is like, I am not going to be that person, and I'm totally cool with that. But she is, she'll help me somehow. I'm sure.
That's
at
cool,
least, to get it fitted. But yeah,
Will
it's
she
crazy.
play Leia? Like, is she
God,
like? Are you
no.
gonna come
Nope,
in?
She's not. She is not into it at all. She's not a geek at all.
Not a geek.
Nope.
How does this work?
I think that's why it works.
Oh,
I think that's why it works. It's because she's the one who's with the level head. She's got a great sense of humor. She's amazingly funny, and I love her to death.
Okay.
But it's all for non-geek reasons. She is just not that way, and I think that's what causes us. We fit together like Lego pieces because of that. I think so.
That is
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Yeah, right.
amazing.
I figured that was a nice geek way of describing our relationship.
Right?
Yeah,
no,
like
no,
Legos.
It fits.
Yeah.
It's like, so when you're going into your moments where like the cogs are turning, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, Bob is doing his thing.
Yeah,
Let him do his thing. And
She's super supportive of that. This is a creative outlet for me, and she
Right.
totally understands. Like, she's looked at a million pictures of me with Poison Ivy and Catwoman.
and she doesn't.
and she's
lose
like-
her crap.
Nah, she's like, come on, I know you.
Okay.
You're no threat.
Okay.
Well, that's good. I think.
Yeah. No, she knows. Yeah, I'm coming home, and this is all just fun and games for
Right.
me. So
I suppose it doesn't help that Batman is like the biggest playboy ever, and like in comic history,
yeah,
worse than Tony Stark.
right?
Because it's like every single.
It's good to be Batman. You know that whole thing where it's like, if you can be anybody, be Batman.
Of course.
Of course.
For real. It's
I
for
mean,
real.
I'd love to be Batman.
I mean, I would too. So much that I've gone overboard to try and be Batman.
I mean, he wants to tell everybody his secret identity.
right.
Everybody, I'm Batman.
He wants everybody to know.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I know. So, I mean, we could literally talk about this all day.
Yeah.
We can, but unfortunately, we can't because we try to keep this in the vicinity of an hour.
Gotcha.
Tried.
But so we try. I mean, we always come around. Josh, I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But
Sorry, guys.
Before no. This is
great.
I think this has been a success.
Oh, cool.
Honestly,
Awesome.
I think that this is
been a
great.
blast, yeah.
It's been a blast.
Yeah.
But before we close this whole thing out, I have to ask you questions because you were talking about Stormtrooper outfit.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Oh, dude.
the Star Wars Rogue One trailer?
Don't even get me started. I got chills just thinking about it.
So so I want to know because it's like this trailer is weird for me because this is the first Star Wars movie that's coming out officially that has nothing to do with. It's canon, but it's not continuing.
It's a side story.
It's weird. It's a side story.
It's like, it's going to be very Force light. I'm thinking.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know anything about it.
I don't.
So,
I mean, I only know what.
like, I
the
feel like
trailers
this is going to be like an on the ground story.
tell me. Right.
Like what happened on the ground.
Like a real Star Wars.
Yeah, not with these lofty other types, but like what happened on the ground.
Right.
What happened with the folks that brought us the plans for the Death Star. How old are you guys? How old are you?
I am 33.
Josh, how old are you?
I just turned 26.
I'm just asking totally inappropriate questions.
No,
but
that's
you guys
fine.
might not want to say how old you are.
fine.
So and like I said before, I'm 48. So I have nostalgia for this era of Star Wars that this movie is. So this is like got me totally jazzed.
Sure.
This takes place before A New Hope.
Right.
And, so we're going to see classic TKs. We're going to see all the traditional costumes. We're going to see Darth Vader, like, what?
In his prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was moving quick at one point in that last trailer. At one point, he's moving pretty spry. Like he was getting at... I'm very excited about it. So
I'm excited. It's just like I said, it's weird for me because the only reason why I would ever watch any Star Wars movie is because of the Jedi, ever. So so this is going to be obviously very Force light, as to your point.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But this is weird for me because it's like I'm actually watching what the title implies, like a war movie.
Yes.
So, and that's weird to me.
To me, it feels like Force 10 from Navarone in the Star Wars world. Have you ever seen Force 10 from Navarone?
No, I have not.
Was actually in that. It's a war movie from like the 70s.
Okay.
Watch it. But anyway, because it's like an assault on this like unstoppable or super powerful base, Nazi base, which takes place in World War II. And that's what this feels like to me, too.
Interesting. I would never have thought that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing, because I'm going to ask you like tons of more questions. Josh, what were your thoughts on this trailer? Because we have to talk about Star Wars every single time.
For sure. I mean, so I'm going to put this out there because I don't know if I've said this officially on the podcast yet. Before the pitchforks come out, because I have a feeling people already know what I'm going to say. I do like Star Wars. Like, I've watched all the movies. I've seen a little bit of the, Rebels that's going on now. And I like Star Wars. I like the universe. I like everything like that.
There's a but. There's a big but.
There's a but. There's a but. But I'm not, like, super engrossed into Star Wars like I guess the two of you are, essentially. Like, I'll watch it. I will be like, all right, this is cool. I'll probably be there opening night to go see Rogue One, more than likely. But it's not like top of the list for me in nerddom. Again, that word. But you are not allowed to ever give me crap ever again for Thundercats. Ever. It's over. No, that's still happening. But
no, it's not. I really do. Why haven't you, I guess, got on board fully into? Because, like, Star Wars is, like, I would argue that that's the biggest, geekiest thing out there.
Sure, and I would, agree with you. I mean, that has to be the tippy top. I'm not sure. I mean, I watched the originals when I was a kid. My brother had them. He kind of got me into it. He's like, hey, let's watch this. I'm like, all right, cool, this is fun. And I enjoyed it a lot. Like, don't get me wrong. I will watch those movies, time and time again, but there's just something, for whatever reason, I don't have that connection to it. And so it's, to me, it's like, okay, I'm watching this. It's fun. I love it. I like it. But I'll use Spider-Man as an example. There's not that connection that I have, like, with Spider-Man that I do with Star Wars or Dragon Ball Z, just that connection, for whatever that connection is, just is not there with Star Wars.
Okay. So for me, on my end, because I know, Bob, you said that you have chills. For me, I know when that Episode 7 trailer around this time, with like that final trailer before it was finally released onto the world, I was losing it.
I lost
it. Like, I remember you and I talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's like those wide sweeping shots when Rey is in that crashed
Star Destroyer.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, man.
And
Crazy.
she's kind of like exploring and scavenging parts. I felt chills in that score, that John Williams official score that kind of creeps in.
Yeah, they were like totally just sneaking it in.
So you see Rey, and then you see Finn, and then you see what's his face? The guy.
Poe.
No, not Poe. The bad guy.
Oh, Kylo.
Kylo, that's right. Kylo Ren. When you see Kylo Ren, and he's you see the red lasers when they're about to destroy like the entire planetary system.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering watching that, and I'm like, I am going to be here midnight release showing. Like, I have to watch this. And one of my favorite parts about that trailer was the score, because I'm just remembering the commercial that came out subsequently after that. When you see
it was the Han and Leah love theme that they played at the very da na 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 na.
Yes,
and it was like chills.
Also, there was
they worked that in.
They worked it. They
manipulated us.
They do, and they always do that for the trailers, and they do that for the commercials.
Yeah,
where they have like this custom, music for that to fit their purpose.
Yeah.
But I think one of my favorite songs. I'm about to get really nerdy, guys. One of my favorite songs on that soundtrack is Jedi Steps. The song that plays when Rey lands on that planet where they go to the Jedi Temple and she's walking up the steps and the music is kind of playing.
Yeah.
That song plays in the movie. I'm sorry, in the commercial where she's running away from, the TIE fighters.
Right.
And I said, this is it. Like, this is how I know, like, I am never going back to being boring and not a nerd.
Yeah.
That was it.
Like those things that just give you chills.
Oh, it got me chills. I can like play a YouTube clip of that commercial right now on my computer, and I would still feel it, to this day.
And the thing is here's what worries me a little bit. So, and I'm gonna probably, so I don't want anybody to get mad at me either, but
no.
I'm worried. I loved episode 7, but I feel like I feel like I loved it because of the nostalgia and not because it was a great movie. Now, the trailer was amazing and got me totally hyped. And it was a great movie.
It was a great movie.
But I'm hopeful that the next movie, I'm hopeful that it kind of follows in this tradition for me in the movies. Like, New Hope was like this, I was like, oh, yeah, it's like crazy. I was a kid. And then Empire Strikes Back, you were like, that's an amazing story.
Of course.
Empire is the best of all of them,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, because it's got all of this stuff going on, and that's kind of what I hope happens in the next one here. But they don't too cookie cutter Empire onto the next movie here either.
Of course,
sure.
They I feel like episode 7 was a little cookie cutter-ish, but still an amazing movie. Don't get me wrong. I watch it. I've probably watched it already this month like twice. So, the reason I think Rogue One is exciting to me is because it's outside of that world. So, I mean, not outside of that world, but outside of that kind of storytelling.
Of course,
so,
of course.
I'm hopeful. Like, that didn't have. There were little hints at John Williams music in the trailer, but not a lot.
Really.
Not a lot, really. And I was okay with that.
Yeah.
So, it worked for me. So. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
When watching the Rogue One trailers, I didn't feel that same connection. It was the strangest thing. I was just like, this feels weird.
Yeah.
This trailer makes me a little bit more excited than the last one.
So here are two things that I've been my takeaways, and I hope I'm not like rambling too much for you.
No, you're fine.
Absolutely.
They softened her up a lot. What's her name? The main. I don't even know her name. Jin.
I think her name is Jin.
Erso, right?
So between the first trailer and this trailer, now she's on board, and I assume that's just part of the storytelling process. And I think was it you that I was talking to?
Probably.
Someone that was like, it's probably just later in the storytelling that we're seeing her now all on board with everything. Because my favorite line from that first trailer was, "We're a rebellion. We rebel."
We rebel. Yeah, I agree.
I'm like, that is just such an awesome line for like a kid to have. And I said to somebody, that character probably didn't test very well with mothers of daughters between 12 and 17.
Okay.
So they made her more like, let's all do this together, So that's what I felt like they were doing with this. But it's probably just part of the storytelling process. And the other thing that I got out of it is, man, they love stormtroopers on beaches.
Yeah.
They love stormtroopers on beaches.
So
like,
when you
I'm
pass
getting that
by,
rammed down my throat everywhere I go.
When you pass a Disney store, they have the decal on the window.
Yeah.
That's what you see every single time.
Literally. I think I'm going to make, when I finish my stormtrooper, I'm just going to make some little cardboard waves so I can set it in front of myself for pictures.
I really want to help you with that.
That would be so cool. Anyway.
No, so I agree with you. I think the thing that's exciting me the most is the different visuals that you're seeing, because there's a lot of scenes that you don't normally see in any type of Star Wars movie ever. I don't care if it's Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. It's different. And you kind of see some of those elements in Episode 7 where the TIE fighters are kind of coming in and you see the sun setting in the background.
Yeah.
I sat there watching that commercial and I said, what am I watching?
You know what I like is I like guys with lightsabers who aren't Jedis.
Yeah.
That to me is kick-ass.
Yeah.
I like guys with lightsabers who are like, you know what? I mean, I can make a lightsaber too.
Right.
You know? I mean,
Can't be
I
good
feel
at
like, yeah. I mean, it might be a little rough.
Yeah.
But I think we're seeing some of that too.
Yeah.
Maybe they are Jedi.
Just
I don't know.
people picking up, a weapon and just using it because it's a war. You're desperate and you got to fight and you want to survive and you want to win.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around this trailer because obviously I'm going to see it, but it's obviously very different.
It's coming sooner than later too, right? What is it? No,
December.
December. Yeah.
Because November is Doc Strange.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
Josh and I are really excited over.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you guys think about that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we're going to be talking.
Super
We'll be talking about that one too.
We'll be talking about that one, and who knows? Maybe we'll have you on the show.
Well, I'll make that costume if it gets me back on the show.
Oh, man.
Challenge
Okay.
accepted.
Right.
All right. Obviously, we need
Wait,
to
I put myself in a hole. Never mind.
listen. We need to end on a high note, guys. That's all we have for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I'll tell you what, if you like what we had to say, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Jace Rocklin. And Josh?
I am at JCA90, and you can also find us, the podcast, at FGC Podcast, or email us at freshgeekcontext@gmail.com. And Bob?
I don't really. I'm not a social media person.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
48 years old. I don't use anything, so sorry. You guys will post pictures. If I can come up with a link or something. I don't know if you guys
Sure, and if anyone has questions for us, we'll forward them to you.
Look me up on Facebook. I'll friend you on Facebook.
Okay, we'll put it together.
Yeah.
You can also visit our website, obviously, at freshgeekcontext.com for past episodes, and a teaser will be shown for the next episode. I know last week I had said a friend of mine who was going to be coming in, this is not that person. That person is going to be on the next episode. So there was a little snafu with the scheduling, but this is fine. This worked out perfectly.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Seriously.
No,
Yeah,
it's not a
definitely.
problem.
We loved
Yeah.
it. It was great.
Awesome.
We're glad to have had you, and obviously we'll be coming on for future episodes.
Thank you.
And lastly, if you'd like, you can also subscribe to us on iTunes. Go to the podcast section or the podcast app on your iPhone or iPad and click subscribe. And I guess may the force be with you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
You guys are nerds. I don't get it.
So are you. Spider-Man. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.
Peace out.